Welcome back to Katana TCG. We're going to be doing an early deck preview on Kleavor VSTAR and how we can kind of build a deck around it. Yeah. When it's time to flex on your opponents in Top Cut this season, or even just upgrade your TCG accessories, make sure you're checking out inkgaming.com. They have a wide variety of custom playmats, custom dice bags, face masks, as well as mouse pads too, and a grip of sleeves and dice and deck boxes, all your TCG accessory needs. And you can use the code DADSPOD10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order from inkgaming.com. Your game, your style. Kleavor VSTAR kind of looked like a meme at first, but I've actually taken a pretty big liking to the card itself. Swings for a very relevant weakness while not having a very relevant weakness of its own. It has the ability to use things like Gutsy Pickaxe very efficiently, and we can abuse Path of the Peak, which in any format, especially things like Jolteon VMAX, which this has very similar traits to, has been very, very good. So let's dive into why these cards are here, what they do, and how Kleavor VSTAR can really be applied in the standard format. Kleavor V is a 210 HP basic fighting Pokemon that knows the HM cut for 1 fighting energy and does 40 damage, and for 2 fighting energy, 1 colorless, it does Axe Slash for 150. You discard an energy from this Pokemon. If you do, you discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. It is weak to grass, it has no resistance, and a 2 retreat cost. We're running 3 Kleavor VSTAR 270 HP fighting VSTAR Pokemon. For 1 fighting and 1 colorless, it does Axe Break for 120 damage, and this attack also does 60 damage to one of your opponent's bench V Pokemon. Spread damage is good. Unfortunately, it can only attack V Pokemon, but I think we play cards in this deck that help us deal a little bit more damage to those Pokemon. Its V-Star power for 1 fighting energy does Rampaging Star for 30 times damage, and this attack does 30 damage for each Pokemon in our discard pile. I have opted to go the route of the Bidoof and Bibarel engine in terms of draw power. With the Industrious Incisors ability on Bibarel, once during your turn, you may draw cards until you have 5 in your hand, which is very powerful. We also utilize things like Grant and Ultra Ball and Quick Ball to help thin our hand down and draw more cards each turn. The spicy tech in this list is definitely running the Eevee and Thunderous Awakening Jolteon. If this Pokemon has a memory capsule attached to it, all water Pokemon in play don't have abilities, so we're completely shutting down the new Radiant Greninja, as well as the entire Shady Dealings line and other water Pokemon with really reasonable abilities in this format. We are also running a one of Oranguru. Because we're streamlining the Gutsy Pickaxe, it's important to really utilize this Primate Wisdom ability to put the fighting energy from our hand on top of our deck, and then accelerating that energy with the Gutsy Pickaxe card, which we'll get into in just a moment here. We're playing 4 Quick Ball, 3 Ultra Ball, and 2 Evolution Incense to really just hone in on grabbing our Pokemon as we see fit, on top of discarding Pokemon as we see fit to potentially use its V-Star power early to late in the game for a nice knockout for 1 energy. We're playing 4 copies of Marnie. We're streamlining Path to the Peak. We might as well streamline manipulating our opponent's hand size at any chance that we get. We're playing 2 Professor's Research and 2 Boss's Orders to potentially gust up that V Pokemon that we've been swinging into and putting chip damage on with our Axe Break attack from Kleavor VSTAR. We're playing 1 Raihan to re-accelerate a basic energy out of the discard pile and go into the deck and grab things like the Memory Capsule that we don't really have any other search for. And we're playing 1 Grant. We referred to this earlier, but during your turn, your fighting Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, bumping the Axe Break attack up to a whopping 150. And on top of that, during your turn, if this Grant card is in your discard pile, you may discard 2 cards, accept any Grant, and then put this Grant from your discard pile into your hand. It's a great discard engine to have with the Bibarel Industrious Incisors ability, on top of being able to reutilize this supporter. I cannot stress this enough. This has to be one of the coolest interactions any Pokemon card has had since I've been playing. We're playing 2 Escape Rope. We're playing 4 of the new Gutsy Pickaxe too. You reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a fighting energy, you accelerate it to one of your benched Pokemon, and if it's not a fighting energy, you put that card straight into your hand. Now, it is a little harder to use the Industrious Incisors ability if you continuously put cards in your hand that aren't fighting energy, but like I mentioned before, we're using the Oranguru to put the fighting energies out of our hand on top of our deck and utilizing this card as energy acceleration for our Kleavor VSTARs. We're running 1 Air Balloon. Because the Gutsy Pickaxe only accelerates 2 bench Pokemon, it is important to have some pivot in this deck. We're playing 2 memory capsules to streamline getting that Thunderous Awakening out and live as soon as we can. We are also running 2 telescopic sights. The attack of the Pokemon that this card is attached to does 30 more damage to your opponent's benched V and GX Pokemon. Now we're bumping this Axe Break attack up to 90 damage, which is pretty respectable. We get to run a very spicy 4 count of Path to the Peak. Reasonably, we could probably go down to 3, but I think the 4 count Marnie, 4 count Path is just so manipulative, especially in a format that heavily relies on their rulebox Pokemon having abilities, especially the new Radiant Pokemon, which technically do have rule boxes. You are able to shut them off with Path to the Peak in play. We're also running a 4 count of the Stone Energy that came out in Vivid Voltage. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides fighting energy, and the fighting Pokemon this card is attached to takes 20 less damage from attacks of your opponent's Pokemon, which makes the Kleavor VSTAR pretty beefy. You get a couple of the Stone Energies, or even just one, you're having a really hard time one-hit knocking out, unless you're swinging for Grass weakness, of course. And on top of those Stone Energy, we're also playing a respectable 7 Fighting Energies in this deck. Although there might be a lot of room for improvement, I think that Kleavor VSTAR definitely has some potential. If you enjoyed this early deck preview, make sure you like the video, comment below which deck you want to see next week, and subscribe to my channel. And make sure you're checking out the PokeDads podcast every Friday on Spotify or Apple or anywhere you enjoy your podcasts at. Deuces. And a pretty reasonable retreat cost of 2. And Kleavor VSTAR, damn it, that's going on the end of the video.